In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install your shelves directly onto your tile backsplash. The most important thing to figure out when you're installing shelving is going to be your spacing. In this particular application, we've already got one shelf installed and we need to install a second shelf between the first shelf and the cabinet above. The easiest way to accomplish this is to take a measurement from the top of whatever's on the bottom and measure up the distance you want between the shelf and whatever's below it. Then take a pencil and make a mark on the wall. That mark is going to represent the bottom of the shelf that you're installing. Now take your shelf hanger and align the top of the shelf hanger with the line that you drew on the wall. Thankfully, I've got access to a laser level, so I use that to align the bottom shelf and the top shelf as well as the hangers. If you don't have access to something like this, you can always take a level and put it on the wall vertically, make sure it's plumb, and then draw a line all the way down and use that for your alignment. Now get your torpedo level and balance it on top of your shelf bracket. That way you can take the bottom of the shelf bracket and adjust it so the top of the shelf bracket is level. Once you know that your bracket is good and level, go ahead and take your pencil and mark your fastener holes so you know where to drill. Now it's time to do the most important thing, is check your work. You want to check all of your measurements, all of your fastener holes, your spacing from top to bottom, your spacing from left to right for your bracket. Check everything and recheck it before you drill any holes. There's not really any going back, especially when you're drilling through tile. You're going to have to replace a tile or put some caulk in the hole that you drilled and it's going to look absolutely horrible. So go ahead and check your measurements 3 or 4 times before you drill. By the way, these are the drill bits I'm using. These are Bosch glass and tile bits. I really like these. I need a 3/16 size bit for these hangers, and honestly couldn't be happier with the performance of these bits. And what I did was I took one of those yellow anchors that I'm using, put it up against this, and then put a piece of blue tape so I know the depth of how far I need to drill. When I'm working in a clean workspace, especially a new house or a beautiful kitchen, I usually will drill with one hand and hold my shop vac tube with the other so I don't get dust everywhere. This particular tile is terracotta, so it's got some pretty rough red dust, and when you drill it gets everywhere, so I felt it was really important to make sure that doesn't go anywhere. When you drill tile, it's really important to start drilling slow and then ramp your speed up slowly as the drill bit works its way through the glazing of the tile and actually into the body of the tile itself. You don't want to go too fast though, because you can actually burn up your drill bit and it completely dulls out and you'll have to get a new one. It really just takes a few holes to get the hang of it. You'll see that you start slow, work your way up a little bit, and it just goes through just like butter. Now we can go ahead and install our anchors into the holes that we drilled. Just press them into the hole and take your hammer and tap them in until they're flush. You want to be careful when doing this that you don't accidentally hit the hammer against the tile and chip or break it. One way to prevent any sort of damage is to take a piece of blue painter's tape, put it over the head of your hammer, and then hit in your anchor. That way, in case you do hit a tile, you don't damage it. Now line up the holes in your bracket with the anchors that you just installed and go ahead and put in one screw. Tighten it down just a little bit, but make sure there's a little bit of wiggle room so you can adjust how level your bracket is. You might notice me struggle a little bit here. The screws that these particular brackets came with were actually flathead screws, which look beautiful but are absolutely frustrating to screw in with one hand. Now it's time to level the bracket. So get your torpedo level out and place it on top of your bracket and adjust it accordingly, and then go ahead and snug up that one screw that you put in. Now that you're nice and level and snugged up, you can go ahead and put in the other fasteners. Go ahead and tighten those up and recheck your level at the end and adjust accordingly. Now we're going to install the left bracket and level it according to the right bracket. Go ahead and get your spacing between the brackets set and mark that on the wall. As you can see, I'm using a laser level here to mark it according to the bottom bracket. But if you just need a spacing size, just measure out in between the two brackets and mark a line, and then take your level and put it vertically on the wall and mark a straight line plumb. That way you can mark up the length of the entire bracket on the wall. Then you're going to hold the bracket on the wall like this and set your level on top of both brackets and adjust your left bracket up and down until it's level across. Double check that your bracket is still plumb with the other bracket below or plumb to your line that you drew, and then mark your fastener holes. Now go ahead and drill the holes that you just marked. Go ahead and install your anchors and fasteners like we did before, and now it's time to grab your shelf board. And go ahead and temporarily set it on top of your brackets, grab your level, and check to make sure the shelf is level all the way across. Sometimes, even after all your hard work and perfect measuring, your shelf still comes out a little bit unlevel. What you can do is use some tiny washers to space out your brackets. You can also try tightening or loosening the bottom screws on your brackets to let the bracket itself come out a little bit or go in towards the wall. You just kind of have to play with it a little bit. Alright, well now that we've got our last bracket installed, the last thing to do is check our level and then install the mounting screws between the actual brackets and the shelf itself, and then we are done. First thing we're going to want to check is that each shelf is even to each other. I found the simplest way to use a laser. So I'm going to set this up on the bottom shelf. Bottom shelf is level. So we are just about perfect. I'm going to have to move the shelf over another little bit. But if you don't have a laser to use, you can just take your level and check your plumb. So off of the bottom shelf, we're a little bit plumb there. And go just a little bit in. Too much. And there we are, plumb off of each other. So now all we gotta do is put our mounting screws in the bottom here. This has some really long mounting screws, so I'm actually gonna pre-drill this shelf before I mount it in. But go ahead and put your mounting screws in your shelf board and you're all finished. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope I was able to help show you just how easy it can be to install your own shelves in a tile backsplash. If you have any questions about the process, please let me know down in the comments and I'll be sure to help you out. I'm also going to have links to any of the tools and materials that I use for this project down in the description. I do all kinds of home repair videos on this channel, so if you're interested, please hit that subscribe button to see more content like this. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.